Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Just got off a plane from Germany, had such a great time there at Rhema, Germany. 20 years of the Bible school there, and actually several years before that, getting ready for it. It's just so cool to see the students with a missions mentality to go into all the world. We got into Gifts of the Spirit all day Friday, 7 sessions, and then all day Saturday, another 7 sessions. Amazing to see how hungry they are. My sister, Michelle Grunwald, and brother-in-law, John Grunwald, have done such an amazing job there, training the students and getting leaders ready for the last days. What a great time we had. So amazing to see the difference in 20 years. So we just got back this weekend. We're heading to Texarkana. If you're anywhere near Texarkana, Texas, we'll be there at VT Family Church for Sunday morning. We'll get into end times and have a wonderful time. So we're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord. It's getting so blatant and precise, you can see the nations falling into position for the Ezekiel 38 war, because the rapture is signless, but the second coming has tons of signs. So if we can point out what's happening that looks like what happens right after the rapture, it shows us how close we are. So it is interesting that Jesus, he rebuked the crowd one time, rebuked the Pharisees over and over and over again. Why? He said, you don't know your hour of visitation. He said, you can tell what the weather's going to be, but you don't know your hour of visitation. So he wanted them to know, and even dedicated one tribe out of the 12 tribes of Israel, the tribe of Issachar, to have an understanding of the times. Because I hear people say, well, why in the world would we need to know about end times? Well, if you don't know how close you are to the end, you don't accelerate. You have a tendency to chill. Well, this is not the time to chill. This is the time to be engaged. This is the time to hustle. This is the time to go for it. So it's not about an escape theology. It's about seeing the finish line. You run fast. So what great expectation and great joy we have knowing we're about to see Jesus face to face. So we're looking at all the things that point to that, because literally the last 3 or 4 weeks, things that have happened that have been predominant to the point of really getting ready for Ezekiel 38. I think we're still a few years away, but man, things are happening so quickly, we may not be. We'll just see. So let's talk about what's happened this last week in Israel. Man, many things keep happening. You had, had a ceasefire started with Turkey through Vice President Pence negotiated that with Erdogan. That held out for a little while, then there was a little bit of more stuff going on, some fighting kept happening, but really the big deal that kind of shocked me was the vacuum that was created by the U.S. pulling out of just a little bit of area. Russian troops have pulled in there. And so Putin met with Erdogan. This is pretty amazing. Putin met with Erdogan for 6 hours. They negotiated a treaty to where this is what will happen. You've got about 5 or 6 points that are going to happen. The Kurdish forces looks like they won't have to leave some of the towns they're in, because they were so dug in with like 140,000 troops that I think Turkey realized they weren't going to be able to win. But what's happened is you've got the Syrian Kurdish militias pulling back, and they agreed to this so that Turkey would be happy, and there would be about a 10-kilometer area where they're going to pull back from, so that buffer zone is going to be about 30 kilometers. So you've got Russian military guys that are basically patrolling that area along with Syrian troops, along with Turkish troops. So it is kind of a hodgepodge lodge of weaponry right there. The main thing for me, though, was look what happened in 1 week to give Russia an entrance right there. The bases that we pulled out of there in northern Syria, you had Russian troops went in there this last week. Russian special forces went into those bases right there with helicopters and with armament. So the moment we pulled out, Russia pulls in. Everybody's freaking out about that, but it's kind of in the cards for Russia to have more of a stance. So our troops went over to Iraq. The ones that went over to Iraq right now. So you're seeing literally the setup for this, the players for the Ezekiel 38 war. You have in Israel the thing happening with the prime minister. It looks like Netanyahu's backed away from being able to form a coalition. It looks like Gantz is going to be able to form a coalition. I was intrigued to hear the stance the last 2 days from Israel. They are bracing themselves and preparing themselves for a direct missile attack from Iran and from a drone attack from Iran. So they saw what's getting ready to happen, and they're bracing for it. So I'm intrigued to not hear any word at all. I mean, this is all coming from Israeli publications and press. You're not hearing any kind of thought from any of the world press about this, because you can see Iran getting ready for this. So you remember every week Israel basically is taking out a cache of missiles that have come down into Syria. and specifically the huge ones that went into Beirut, Lebanon. They haven't done anything about that. Now, you saw the protests going on in Lebanon. This is so interesting to see the rabbis' response to the protests that are happening in Lebanon. They put a connection between Lebanon helping Israel get ready for the temple to be rebuilt. That kind of freaked me out when I saw that. I was like, that caught me off guard. So little things keep happening with major players for the Ezekiel 38 war, specifically Turkey and specifically Russia. But you're watching the setup for Jesus about to come back. So we always go back to the scripture. What's the verses say? This is the blatant thing that never changes, that's precise, inarguable, and so easy to understand. Jesus said the generation that sees Israel made a nation and Jerusalem won back, he said that generation won't pass away till all is fulfilled. So amazing. The two signs have happened in our lifetime. Then you had the Hebrew language restored. You got the Ethiopian Jews that were brought back in one day, 18,000 airlifted in one day. After that, you got the fertility of the land of Israel. You got the revival of the Roman Empire. You got the Temple Mount Institute. You got foxes showing up 5 weeks ago on the Temple Mount, pointing to the third temple being rebuilt. Amazing. You had fish showing up in the Dead Sea. Ezekiel prophesied that 2,700 years ago. You have all these things. Probably the amazing thing about the Temple Mount Institute is that they're ready to start having sacrifices. And that stuff I learned about Lebanon today, I was like, oh my. So all these things are falling into place. You have 172 different species of predatory birds, because the Bible says that God calls on the fowl of the air right after the Ezekiel 38 war. 7 years later, the Battle of Armageddon, he calls on the fowl of the air again. So the cleanup crews in Israel, and you have fish in Israel, foxes in Israel, Temple Mount Institute getting ready, Russia falling in position. So all these little things amounting up to sign after sign after sign of things getting ready for the coming of the Lord. So you have much more. Men would be lovers themselves. We have selfie sticks. So all the main things about you'd see, the scripture saying we'd see, taking place in our lifetime. So Jesus said, lift up your heads. Your redemption is drawing nigh, indicating you'll be downtrodden and not really excited about the coming of the Lord. I hear people say, well, I don't want the rapture to happen because I got so much in my heart. It's because you're going to live forever. The rapture is not an ending. The rapture is a beginning. You're just tasting of the powers of the world to come. You're not done implementing the kingdom. The whole millennial reign of Christ, the church is going to be overseers and have oversight. So after all the signs we talk about, we have signals. You had blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles. Amazing. And then you had the Bethlehem star, but the blood red moon's having 4 in a row, and NASA called it a tetrad. When's the last time you had 4 in a row on Passover and Tabernacles? 1967 when Jerusalem was won back. 1948 when Israel was made a nation. So, and at the Edict of Expulsion when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. So you've got things happening with blood red moons coinciding. I hear people say, well, nothing happened when the blood red moons happen. Well, they're indicators, just like you're indicating you're about to turn. It means you're about to do something. So that means that Jesus is about to come back. So then you had the Bethlehem star. We don't talk a lot about that, but absolutely amazing. First time in 2,000 years. You had Mercury do a flyby of the sun, first time in 5 times in a century. The amazing thing is the sun went down directly over the Temple Mount. The moon formed a sickle. The planets formed a sickle. Orion changed its instrument to hammers. You had hammer and sickle on the same day. That is absolutely remarkable. There are many other signs in the heavens about this, but it just all points to the tangible things to look at for signals about the Lord coming back so soon. So what do we do as Christians? Help our local church, help our local pastor. We're engaged. Just like when you're engaged, you're about to have a wedding, you want your bride to be excited, you want her to be happy, you want her to be expectant. And this is it. Jesus is just about to come back. We have a lot to do in a short period of time, so let's have an all-hands-on-deck mentality and a hustle mentality to do the will of God. Hey, I appreciate you watching this week. If you can, look at us on Instagram. We got a new Instagram account, Joe Morris Ministries. We're trying to get more things posted out there. Look on Facebook and look for a new channel on YouTube. So we want to get more information to you because things are literally happening faster than I thought they would happen every single week. So we have a new series if you'd like to get a 10 CD series, real detailed on end time. So you can get that. We've got new hats. We've got T-shirts. Won't be long. We'll be coming out with everything. So we sure appreciate you watching this week. Have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday. God bless you.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the EDU at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.